It's Dr. Erica again. I am so excited. I hope everybody had a great weekend. And for those new families joining us, welcome to all of the science fun we have for you. I just want to let you know we're doing it a little bit differently. We're going to do the quick lesson here about like what we're going to learn. And then anything that's sort of more building, we're going to do over in Zoom. So if you're on Patreon, you'll have that Zoom meeting room that we're meeting in. And if you're not following us on Patreon, you should come on over to Patreon and follow us. It's pay what you can, and it gets you sort of all access to all of the downloads and all of the goodies that we've been sending out. So you always know when a live feed is coming up and you've got everything that you need every day. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and get the notifications so you know that it's live, and give us a thumbs up so we can gain a bigger following, because the more kids that we get to teach fun science to, the better. If you're watching and you want to shout out, you can type it in the comments to Evan right now. And then when I'm done with the supplies, I'll give all of the fun shout outs to everybody who's here. I cannot wait to find out who's with us today. So quick note on supplies. On Wednesday, we're doing an amazing chemistry project, and you basically need everything that's in your household with one special ingredient, which is purple cabbage. So I sent that out last night. If you haven't done your grocery shopping for the week, pick up yourself a purple cabbage while you're out there. They shouldn't be out because there's no run on purple cabbage. If you don't have that chance, if you have something like blueberries or wine, it will work. You just won't get as many colors. So blueberries, you'll get sort of like some blues and red hues, but with purple cabbage, you'll get greens and yellows too. So that's the only specialty item we need. And tomorrow we'll talk about how to prepare that so that on Wednesday you're ready to go. For today's class, what we need is you need something you can make into a fun planet, like a ball, or I was going to use ping pong balls, and I cleaned our garage this weekend, and I put the ping pong balls in a very special spot to not forget it. And then I forgot it. So that's like how it always works. I also have we're going to use these, just these like little tiny solo cups that we're going to use as our planets, which is totally fine. We can put it like that. That's happy. So you just need something you can make as a planet. You need our printout, which was on our Patreon page. It's a download, it's a PDF to do it. And then you need any sort of decorative supplies. I've got some pom-poms and some star beads, even some chenille or pipe cleaners, and then some glue. That's pretty much all you need. Oh, and a pair of scissors. We'll need a pair of scissors. So you need that. And if you want to do a more creative writing project with us, there's also a printout that went out today for a travel brochure that you can print out for that. That is sort of all we need for today's project. I'm working really hard to revamp everything. I know Amazon's shipping really slowly, so I'm trying to make sure that the next few weeks we're only using household stuff, and I will try to continue that as long as possible. I mean, I think the biggest specialty supplies we have are some green lasers in there, and if we find out lots of people can't get them, we'll just do that as a side lesson for the people who've got them.
We have a question. Do we need hot glue for this?
You don't need hot glue in particular. I, however, will say this is like, I cannot recommend this highly enough to the world of parents. I know it's scary because your kids can burn themselves. They have low temperature ones that are at, they're like a couple dollars at Walmart. So the low temps will still burn you, but like if you get the glue on you, it's not quite boiling hot, and the metal will always burn you. Kids learn really quickly. So I actually teach after school in a bunch of schools. I probably teach about 40 to 60 kids a month in after schools, and we always use hot glue. I would say, and I work kindergarten to fourth grade, I'd probably get like 1 or 2 burns a month, and then that's it. People learn really quickly with hot glue. So if you don't have hot glue, no big deal. If you're wary of it because it's scary, I would say let your kids try it, because they'll burn themselves a little bit, but once you burn yourselves, you really quickly learn how to like respect a tool once something like that happens. And they're not gonna like burn themselves like this because you very quickly feel it. So you don't need it, but it's my favorite tool in all of my science classes. Yeah, any other quick questions? Very good. All right, so this week we are going into the garden, and we're going to do a lot of garden science projects. And there is one really really important thing for our gardens to grow. And it's kind of the reason why we don't really grow gardens like in the dead of winter. I mean, there are some things we can grow, but when people start gardening, it's always because the sun is coming out, because the sun gives our earth the energy it needs for those plants to grow. And I thought it would be kind of fun to learn about suns and planets and actually something called exoplanets while we were doing this, because there are, I mean, it might shock you. We have our sun and we love our sun. It's the only sun that's in our solar system. It's the only sun in the whole universe. Everything else is just a star. But there are 10 million sun-like stars. So that's like a 1 with 18 zeros after it. That's a lot. There's a lot of stars that are just like our sun. And in fact, 1 in a, a million of those, 1 in a million of those 1 with 18 zeros have planets around them that are kind of like Earth. In fact, NASA has a huge project where they're looking for different exoplanets. And the big question, the question everybody has always asked for so long is there life out there? And if there is, does it look like our life? So if you want to know the answer to that question, 1 in a million of those suns, so we have 10 millions, 1 in a millions of those suns actually has a planet in what we call the habitable zone. So in a zone kind of like Earth, and it has the same chemical composition as Earth. It has liquid water like Earth. It has a temperature like Earth. In fact, it could maybe support life as we know it. So it could maybe have supported evolution. It could support gorillas or zebras, or maybe they look totally different than us, but water-based life, which is really, really cool. And so you might be wondering, what is this habitable zone we are talking about? Well, that is this little printout. So every star has its own sort of heat signature. And you can imagine if you're getting really close to a star, it's going to get really hot. This is why we can't live on Mercury or Venus. Venus is like a puddle of lava. Like, we cannot live. There's no liquid life on Venus because it's so hot, it's boiled off all of its water and it doesn't exist. So you go a little further out. So we have our sun and we pass Mercury and we pass Venus and we get to Earth. Earth is like really cozy. I mean, sometimes water freezes on this planet. Water sometimes boils on this planet naturally too. Like if we go over to, what is it? Yosemite with Old Faithful. Yellowstone with Old Faithful. There's the geyser that goes up. And that has really, really hot water. So we can have really hot water on Earth and we have really cold water, but we get both of them at the same time. And our life that we know completely depends on water. We can go one more planet out and we get to Mars. And on Mars, it's a lot colder. We just actually maybe a little bit too far. We're not actually sure if we went too far because there is maybe some water. It's all locked up as ice and we really want liquid water. So there's this zone where maybe some of these planets are too hot and some of these planets are too cold. But if we go into the Goldilocks zone, there's a distance that is just right. And that is where we want to put our planet. And there are planets, there's exoplanets around all different types of stars. So I actually have different types of stars for you that you can choose from. And they're down here, so you can cut out whichever one you want. And we have a red dwarf, which is really, really hot. This one is our sun, which is a yellow dwarf. And then we have a white dwarf, which is a little bit cooler. And you'll see that if it's really cool, if it's not a hot, hot star, it gets too cold fast. We got to be really close to that. If it's like our sun, we want to be just right here. So if we get too close, ooh, too hot, burning it up. If we get too far, oh, it's a little bit too cold. And then we can also go on even hotter. If it's even a hotter star, we'd have to go even further out to be what we call habitable. And there's all sorts of things that you can put on your planet. Your planet does not need to look like Earth. It can look like whatever you want. In fact, this right here is the travel poster for Kepler 186f. It is the first exoplanet that NASA found that we think is very much like Earth, except for it has a different sun, which is very interesting. Its sun is much more red. And so they made a travel poster where if you go to Kepler 186f, it's where the grass is always redder on the other side. So that's a little bit different. It's not greener on the other side, it's redder. And if you look at their trees, they're all red. There are places where you can go to the nightmare world of HD 1897333b, because this place has raining diamonds. Yes, how cool is that? Amazing. Amazing. These exoplanets are so cool, and you can choose, like, are you going to make an exoplanet that's really small compared to Earth, so when you jump, gravity's way less, you can jump stories high? Or are you going to choose an Earth where maybe everything comes, the sky is purple, or maybe the sky is green? I don't know. I am so curious. What will life look like on your Earth? Will it look like us? Or will it be like really alien and squiggly? Will it all be in water? Will there be no land? These are things that you're going to get to make. And when we head over to our Zoom classroom, we can make all of our planets together because you'll have the stuff. And real quick, if you're following us on YouTube, we have you can cut out your thing. And I have a question. It's a really great question. Marin asked, are stars burning? And the answer is no. They do look like big balls of fire. But to have a big ball of fire, you actually have to have like wood or cardboard or paper or something in that fire that's actually getting eaten up by the fire. It's like burning through it. It's pulling those things apart. So usually in fires, we pull things apart. We burn it off. You see the ash coming off, right? In a star, it's so different. There's something called fusion making the heat in the star. And instead of breaking things apart, we're putting things together. So you'll take like two hydrogen atoms and there's so much energy that they force themselves together and they make helium. So they have this thing of fusion where things are fusing together and that fusion releases energy. And instead of burning and taking things apart, we're actually fusing things together, and that creates the heat that we see in stars. A lot of times we do talk about stars as burning because they look like fire. And when you see sort of like the sun in action, you see all of the things splitting off, the corona coming off, and you can see it, and it looks just like a fire. But there's no logs on the inside. In fact, if we put logs on the inside, our sun would burn out really, really quickly. So it is not burning. It uses fusion to create that heat for us. All right, so you can choose whatever star you want, and we'll create these better in our Zoom classroom. So if I chose this star, which is my red dwarf, I now need to place my planet in the habitable zone. So I'm actually just going to cut off a strip of paper like this, and I'll hold it up at the same time I'm doing it. So I'm going to put my star here, and if I want life on my planet, it needs to be here. So I can tape my piece of paper or glue my piece of paper sort of between these two items, just like that, so that I know that I can create, a star and Earth or planet. Sorry, not Earth, because we're not going to make Earth necessarily, but I can make a little planet with a star, and this planet I could have life on. And I'm curious what kind of life that will be. So we will go and create our stuff over in Zoom. Is there any other questions real fast? You want to type into Evan and I can answer those about that? I'm going to plug in my glue gun right now as we check for questions so that we can be ready to create, because it takes the glue guns just a little bit to get ready. Just a second. All right. The other thing that you guys can do is I have a little travel brochure, so you can give your planet a name. You can say, come visit, I don't know, come visit George and Henry's Planet Extravaganza. And you could draw a picture where maybe George and Henry's planet, I don't know, has hot glue raining down with popsicle sticks.
Can you talk about where you're supposed to cut?
Where I'm supposed to cut. On this part, you can just cut around the star. And then you can use either a piece of paper. You could use like one of these if you wanted to. You could just measure it. So I could just do that and measure it, which is kind of a cool idea. And then just glue this with this guy on the end, and then I'll have the right star and habitable zone. And this distance will change depending on what star you choose. So if you choose the white dwarf, it's going to need to be a lot closer so that your planet is warm enough to have liquid water. Yeah, so you're just really cutting out whichever star you decide you want for your planet. Great question. Yeah, so we got this, and these are the ones that NASA have made for them. They have a whole slew of these things, and it's really cool. So you can get ideas too. You can make travel posters and extend it into writing and art if you'd like to. All right. Any other questions, or shall we switch over to Zoom? All right. We will switch on over to Zoom now, so you can go into your Patreon. There's a link for our meeting room in Zoom, and there's the password that's in there. And Georgia is super excited right now. She is moving it in to come make our planets. So come have lunch with us and come build and create, and you can talk about your planets. I'm so excited to see how creative we are about them. So we will see you shortly. Have a great one.